Well, hello and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. Today we're going to read the Mass readings for April 2nd, 2019. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. And I just ask that you open your heart to these readings. I don't know, for some reason I really got a lot out of these readings today. Not that I don't every day, but today especially for whatever reason. But today's first reading comes from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 47, verses 1 through 9 and verse 12, which say, "The angel brought me to the entrance of the temple, where a stream came out from under the temple threshold and flowed eastwards, since the temple faced east. The water flowed from under the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He took me out by the north gate and led me right around outside as far as the outer east gate, where the water flowed out on the right-hand side. The man went to the east, holding his measuring line, and measured off 1,000 cubits. He then made me wade across the stream. The water reached my ankles. He measured off another 1,000 and made me wade across the stream again. The water reached my knees. He measured off another 1,000 and made me wade across again. The water reached my waist. He measured off another 1,000. It is now a river which I could not cross. The stream had swollen and was now deep water, a river impossible to cross. He then said, 'Do you see, Son of Man?' He took me further, then brought me back to the bank of the river. When I got back, there were many trees on each bank of the river. He said, 'This water flows east down to Arabah to the sea, and flowing into the sea it makes its waters wholesome. Wherever the river flows, all living creatures teeming in it will live. Fish will be plentiful, for wherever the water goes it brings wealth. And life teems wherever the river flows. Along the river, on either bank, will grow every kind of fruit tree with leaves that never wither and fruit that never fails. They will bear new fruit every month, because this water comes from the sanctuary, and their fruit will be good to eat, and the leaves medicinal.'" Our responsorial psalm comes from Psalm chapter 45. "The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. God is our refuge for us. God is for us a refuge and strength, a helper close at hand in time of distress. So we shall not fear, though the earth should rock, though the mountains fall into the depths of the sea. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. The waters of a river give joy to God's city, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within, it cannot be shaken. God will help it at the dawning of the day. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Come, consider the works of the Lord, the redoubtable deeds he has done on earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." And today's gospel reading comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 1 through 3 and 5 through 16. There was a Jewish festival, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Excuse me. Now at the sheep pool in Jerusalem there is a building called Bethzatha in Hebrew, consisting of 5 porticos, and under these were crowds of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the water to move. One man there had an illness which had lasted 38 years, and when Jesus saw him lying there, and knew he had been in this condition for a long time, he said, "Do you want to be well again?" "Sir," replied the sick man, "I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is disturbed, and while I am still on the way, someone else gets there before me." Jesus said, "Get up, pick up your sleeping mat and walk." The man was cured at once, and he picked up his mat and walked away. Now that day happened to be the Sabbath, so the Jews said to the man who had been cured, "It is the Sabbath, you're not allowed to carry your sleeping mat." He replied, "But the man who cured me told me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" They asked, "Who is this man who said to you, 'Pick up your mat and walk'?" The man had no idea who it was, and Jesus had disappeared into the crowd that filled the place. After a while, Jesus met him in the temple and said, "Now you are well again. Be sure not to sin anymore, or something worse may happen to you." The man went back and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had cured him. It was because he did things like this on the Sabbath that the Jews began to persecute Jesus. These readings are very interesting, especially when we see the first reading from the book of the prophet Ezekiel. We read about Ezekiel, this man standing and wading into this water in the temple, and just gets deeper, 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 and deeper. No, what's interesting is if you look to the right of the temple into the distance, all you see is a parched, barren desert, where the Dead Sea is. And what's significant about the Dead Sea is that no water goes in or out. Well, there's no outlet, no water goes out. And so it's full of chemicals. Nothing can live in this sea. It's so salty. It's just so salty, dense, nothing can live. It's deprived of oxygen. Nothing can grow. Nothing can grow there. So let's compare that to today's gospel reading. We read about this man who's been crippled for 38 years. And able to be healed, he has to go into this pool in the Jerusalem Bible calls it Bethzatha. More modern translations, you may have heard of this Bethsaida. Okay? So just in case you're wondering where that connection is. You see, Jesus is this living water. He's the one that gives life. He is that vine that allows us to grow. And so what's amazing is this man had been hurt. He's been sick. He's been ill, as the gospel says, for 38 years. So here comes Jesus into this area. Like the book of Ezekiel says, it turns into a river. So he's like a river. He's giving life. He's giving life to this man who's been ill for 38 years. We don't know what happened to him. Bible doesn't give us a clue about that. Jesus does link sin to his suffering in some way. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone who sinned is going to be ill or crippled or anything else. That's an individual basis, just based on the decision we make, perhaps. But what we do know is that Jesus is that living water that can come in and heal us. Just like that water heals the land in Ezekiel, that allows the land, that barren, parched wasteland of the Dead Sea that's so salty nothing can grow. That living water can wash away that filth, that grime, all that extra salt, and allow us to grow. So how does that happen? One, we gotta ask forgiveness for what we've done. Now, that doesn't mean our physical ailments may go away. In some cases, definitely. But what's certain is our ailments of our spiritual confession, baptism, sacraments, wiped away. Jesus is that living water. Just awesome to me. God bless you. Thank you for joining me in this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. You guys have a great day. God bless you.